My dad pretended to be a beekeeper for years, but I found cameras hidden in his hive equipment, pointing at our bedrooms and bathroom. He had thousands of hours of footage of me and my 11-year-old sister. When he got arrested, Mom confessed in court that she'd known since I was 7 and actually helped plan where to hide the cameras because her sister was abused as a child and she thought watching us 24/7 would keep us safe. I always thought my dad was just really into bees. He spent hours in the backyard with his hives, wearing that white suit and mesh hat, harvesting honey, the works. Mom was proud of his hobby. He even did presentations at my school about pollinators. I was 14 and my sister Emma was 11, so we mostly stayed out of his way. But something felt off about Dad. He always seemed to know things he shouldn't. Like when I told my friend Mia about my crush on Jake Thompson during a sleepover in my room, Dad made weird comments about young love the next morning. Or when Emma practiced her piano recital piece with her door closed, he'd mention the exact parts she'd messed up at dinner. At first, I thought he was just good at guessing. Everything changed on a Thursday after school. I was looking for my phone that I dropped near the hives and decided to check Dad's bee equipment shed. That's when I felt something weird on the wooden frame. A tiny black camera, no bigger than a button, tucked into what looked like a bee observation box. It was pointing toward the house. There were thin wires running from it into the shed's electrical system. That weekend, I waited until Dad went to his beekeeping association meeting. I used his spare key and went into the shed. I nearly threw up at what I found. 2 laptops sat on his workbench with multiple windows open. One showed my room, another showed Emma's room, the third showed the hallway outside our bathroom. There were folders labeled with dates going back 2 years. I clicked one and saw myself sleeping from the night before. Dad had been watching his own kids. The next morning, I cornered Dad in the garage while Mom was at yoga. "I found your cameras," I said, my voice shaking. Dad didn't even look surprised. He just smiled and kept organizing his hive tools. "Those are for monitoring bee behavior near the house, Sophia. Important for the colony. But they're pointed at our bedrooms. Bees are attracted to certain pheromones," he calmly interrupted. "I need to track their patterns. Totally normal beekeeping practice." I told Mom that afternoon. Dad came in with his tablet showing beekeeping forums about proximity monitoring and said I'd misunderstood because I'd been stressed about high school. He even said my paranoia was probably from too much social media and maybe I needed therapy. Mom took his side. She always took Dad's side. But Dad got bolder after that. During family dinners, he'd bring up private conversations we'd had in our rooms. When Emma told her friend about her first period over the phone, Dad bought her pads the next day without Mom telling him. When I stayed up late FaceTiming friends, he'd make subtle jokes about beauty sleep at breakfast. The worst part was his smirk, knowing we were trapped. Then one Saturday morning, I caught him in Emma's room with his toolbox, installing something in her air vent while she was at soccer practice. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Checking for bee infiltration. They can get into ventilation systems," he said without stopping. "You're putting a camera in my sister's room. She's 11. Dad finished his work and turned to face me with that same calm smile. "I'm protecting this family. You'll understand when you're older." That's when I knew I had to tell someone, but not Mom. She'd never believe me. I told my sister everything that night. Emma started crying when she realized what it meant. "He's been watching me change clothes," she whispered. "Dad's been watching me?" We felt sick. This was our father. We didn't go to Mom. We went straight to our school counselor, Miss Zelaya. Emma was crying so hard she could barely talk. I showed Miss Zelaya photos I'd taken of the cameras and the computer setup. She believed us immediately and called Child Protective Services while we sat in her office. The police came to our house that afternoon. They made Dad show them everything while Mom screamed that this was a misunderstanding. They found cameras in places we didn't even expect. Vents, fake bee equipment, even in the bathroom fan. The detective said what Dad did was illegal regardless of him owning the house. They found thousands of hours of footage. Dad tried to claim it was for our safety, but then they found he'd been organizing the videos in ways that made everyone sick. Dad was arrested. Mom couldn't believe it at first, kept saying we'd ruined the family. But when the detective showed her some of what they found, she threw up and couldn't stop crying. We had to stay with our aunt while the investigation continued. Fast forward 6 weeks later to the court case. Mom swore to tell the truth, then looked at me and Emma with tears streaming down her face. "I need to confess something," she said, gripping the rail. "I've known since he installed the first camera when Sophia was 7. I helped him plan where to put them." My knees buckled. Emma grabbed my hand, her fingers ice cold and trembling. The court